So the president of Madagascar has actually just fled the country, and this is after growing protests swept the nation, and is also part of a larger trend of discontent that is now sweeping the world. Today I want to talk about how we got here and what we can expect next for Madagascar. The first thing you need to understand is that these protests emerged because of power cuts and power outages. Roughly only 1/3 of people in Madagascar have access to electricity, and even that was being cut back. Now, the Madagascar government has long promised to come up with some sort of solution, but every solution it came up with was complete nonsense. For instance, one proposal was to bring in French corporations to build dams and have electricity provided that way. Now, this is of course ridiculous because corporations only exist to make a profit, so no way were they going to provide this electricity at cheap costs, which was absolutely essential because roughly 3/4 of people in Madagascar are in poverty, so no way was this electricity going to be provided at cheap cost. It'd be provided at a high cost so they can make money. And the second thing, of course, is this corporation was not even based in Madagascar. It was actually based in France, and France was the former colonizer of Madagascar, so it's quite a slap in the face for the Malagasy people. Now, thankfully, though, the Malagasy people were not going to take these kinds of quote-unquote proposals. They instead went out into the streets, protested. Many of them were unfortunately shot and killed. But very recently what's actually happened is sections of the military have actually supposedly sided with the protesters in the hopes of getting rid of the Malagasy government. And of course what we've had very recently now is actually the president himself fleeing. Now, what happens next is anyone's guess, but I think one thing people need to understand is that when the military takes over or helps out protesters, there's really only two possibilities. One is that the military actually just restores the status quo, keeps things the same. The other proposal, which I hope happens, is that the military can actually play a very anti-imperialist role in resisting, for instance, the Western intrusions as well as economic inequality. Let's look at the first scenario. Now, this might sound very cynical, but you have to remember that the current president, President Ratswellen, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he actually came to power in 2009, and he was seen as a change maker. Of course, in 2009, there were very similar protests going on, and the military back then actually also eventually sided with the protesters themselves. And what I'm kind of worried about is we might be seeing something happen very similar again. And I know that's kind of a downer, but we have to be very careful when moving forward. The second thing is that hopefully the military can play a more positive role. We see this, for instance, in countries like Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, where the military engaged in a coup, but what ended up happening afterwards was there was this very anti-imperialist government. And I hope the same thing happens in Madagascar. Hopefully, for instance, a lot of the French presence there that is actually ruining the country, hopefully that can be stopped, and hopefully electricity can be provided to everyone. So I think those are things that need to be kept in mind. Let me know what you think, especially if you're Malagasy, because I'm just some white dude in Canada talking about this. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'm curious to hear what you think. Thank you.